When an empire starts to lose its shine, the first signs appear in the details. That's what has been happening with the Milwaukee Bucks since lifting the trophy in 2021. That triumph seemed like the beginning of a new era, but fate decided to test the patience and faith of those who believed that title would be the first of many. Since then, the team has struggled to rediscover the same energy. The system lost its fluidity, the stars lost their connection, and the roster aged quietly. The arrival of Damian Lillard reignited hope. His pairing with Giannis promised to be explosive. Two of the most gifted offensive players of their generation, together in the same locker room. The dream was that the duo would take Milwaukee back to the top. But basketball, like life, rarely follows the script. Lillard had flashes of brilliance, yet the team never found consistency. The NBA Cup title brought headlines, but it didn't convince anyone. It was a side trophy, far from true glory. Then came the hardest blow, the diagnosis of deep vein thrombosis, a serious issue that sidelined him and cast doubt over his future. Suddenly, what was once a championship project turned into a race against time. Without Lillard, the Bucks once again depended entirely on Giannis's instinct. And even for him, that burden is becoming heavy. Giannis has always been the symbol of loyalty. He rejected tempting offers, believed in the city, the fans, and the promise of continuity. But every idealism has its limit. No player wants to waste the best years of his career amid uncertainty and improvisation. The window is open now, and no one knows for how long. Elsewhere in sunny California, the Golden State Warriors are undergoing a similar transition, but with a crucial difference. Their management acts before decline sets in. The front office understands that Stephen Curry's clock doesn't stop. The guard who changed basketball is still brilliant, but each wasted season is a lost chapter in his legend. After years of dominance, the franchise refuses to fade away slowly. That's why it stunned the world by bringing in Jimmy Butler, an unrelenting competitor from the Miami Heat. That move signaled something bigger. The Warriors want to stay at the center of the conversation, not on the pages of nostalgia. The trade that brought Butler to San Francisco required courage. They lost key pieces, but gained a winning mentality. And now, as the roster quietly rebuilds, a rumor shakes the league. Golden State's interest in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Sources close to the front office suggest a carefully crafted plan, a massive trade package capable of shaking the NBA's foundation. The proposal would include veterans and young talents, a mix Milwaukee would find hard to ignore. Among the names mentioned are Draymond Green, Gary Payton II, Buddy Hield, Jonathan Kuminga, and Moses Moody, along with two valuable first-round draft picks in 2026 and 2028. For the Bucks, it would mark the end of one era, but the beginning of another. Giannis represents the peak of the modern franchise, but keeping him in a team with no clear direction could be a long-term mistake. In contrast, receiving young and promising players would open a new horizon. Kuminga and Moody, both 22, are future bets with solid fundamentals and exceptional athletic profiles. Kuminga, for instance, has been posting consistent averages, around 16 points per game with visible improvement in decision-making. He has the potential to become an offensive leader if given freedom. Milwaukee could offer that, something Golden State's rigid structure never did. Moody also stands out. His three-point shooting is accurate, and his tactical discipline is rare for his age. In a rebuilding team, he could serve as a cultural cornerstone. Draymond Green, even at 35, would bring leadership. His intensity and game IQ would reshape the locker room. Gary Payton II would add defense and energy, two essential traits for young squads. Buddy Hield, with his deadly shooting, would keep the offense sharp. The Warriors' management knows letting Green go would be painful. He has embodied the team's soul for over a decade. But to reach a new level, detachment is necessary. The chance to see Curry, Butler, and Giannis sharing the same court is too tempting to pass up. That combination would have historic impact. Curry would control the perimeter, Butler would drive the intensity, and Giannis would redefine the meaning of physical dominance. No defensive system in the league could handle three forces so perfectly complementary. Beyond the technical aspect, there's the emotional one. Giannis's arrival would send a message to the world. The Warriors don't just aim to compete, They aim to rule again. Meanwhile, Milwaukee would gain what every team needs after losing a star, a new identity. The rebuilding process may be slow, but with the right pieces, it becomes rebirth. Kuminga and Moody represent the future. The draft picks are tickets to opportunity, and veterans like Green and Payton too would ensure the team doesn't lose its culture of effort. Insiders suggest that these talks have already moved past speculation. Executives from both franchises have reportedly met discreetly, analyzing salary and logistical impacts. No announcement has been made, but silence often signals real movement. If the deal goes through, it would be a sporting earthquake. The NBA's balance would shift instantly. The Warriors would return to the top of projections, while the Bucks would move from contenders to rebuilders. And within that context emerges a name that, until recently, seemed far from the spotlight: Soto. The 2.18-meter Filipino center has been drawing global attention. Recent reports indicate that Golden State is studying the possibility of bringing him in for the 2025 season. Soto is not just a player. He's a symbol. His presence would carry both sporting and cultural weight. In the Philippines, he's seen as a national hope, a bridge between the dream and reality of thousands of Asian basketball fans. Technically, he has rare attributes. He combines height, wingspan, and mobility with above-average game awareness. He's solid in rim protection, smart with blocks, and has a soft touch on offense. His mid-range shot makes him valuable in a system that emphasizes spacing and movement. Exactly the Warriors' style. If the deal materializes, he wouldn't be just a tactical addition, but a strategic move. The media impact across Asia would be immense. The Golden State brand would reach new markets while the roster gains a player with real developmental potential. Soto built his career away from the American spotlight. He played in leagues in Australia and Japan, facing seasoned, physically stronger opponents. That experience shaped him into a resilient athlete, willing to adapt and learn. In San Francisco, he would have the chance to work within one of the most sophisticated systems in the world. Learning under a coach focused on movement and collective reading would transform him. For the Warriors, it would also be an emotional investment, a gesture of renewal. The possible arrivals of Giannis and Soto in the same summer would mark a clash of eras. Absolute present and emerging future meeting under the same colors. The simultaneous arrival of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Soto at Golden State would be more than just a market move. It would mark the rebirth of a philosophy. The San Francisco franchise has always stood out for thinking beyond the obvious. While other teams piled up stars without harmony, the Warriors built dynasties based on complementarity, not quantity. And that is exactly the balance they are trying to restore. With Curry, Butler, and Giannis at the core, the team would once again be a benchmark for synergy. Three leaders with distinct personalities but one common trait: an obsession with winning. Giannis brings raw power and tireless energy. Butler, a warrior's mentality and emotional control. Curry, creative lightness and a game vision that redefines court space. Together, they would form a triangle of power almost impossible to contain. The offensive system would transform. Curry would have complete freedom to play off the ball, taking advantage of screens and gaps created by Giannis. Butler would attack the paint, drawing defenses and opening space for shooters. Giannis would be the central axis, the player who converts energy into points, strength into rhythm, and presence into dominance. No other team in today's NBA could reproduce that chemistry. But the deepest impact of this restructuring would be on defense. Giannis and Butler are known for their perimeter intensity and tactical awareness. Combined with a system that values help and rotation, the Warriors would once again become a defensive nightmare. Soto, still developing, would bring a new dimension to rim protection, something the team has lacked in recent years. His physical presence would offset the height limitations Golden State faced during key playoff moments. Giannis's adaptation to the constant movement scheme would only be a matter of time. He is a quick learner and adjusts easily to systems. The concept of fixed positions would vanish. He could initiate plays from the top, attack as a mobile center, or lead in transition. Offensive fluidity would be total. The result? a more unpredictable, faster, and more engaging game. For Curry, this new phase would mean relief. For years, he carried the burden of being the center of everything, the shooter, creator, organizer, and motivator. Now, he would share responsibilities with two equally driven competitors. That would extend his career and, more importantly, his competitiveness. The point guard could focus on what he does best, dismantling defenses with impossible shots and relentless movement. The Warriors' front office, aware of the natural fatigue of a long cycle, quietly works to balance present and future. Soto would symbolize this transition. At 23, he would have the privilege of growing alongside icons. He would learn from Giannis the art of physical dominance and from Curry the patience of tactical reading. In a short time, he could become an essential rotation piece, a modern center shaped within the league's most intelligent environment. The cultural impact would be immense. Sotto's presence on the roster wouldn't just be a technical move, but a diplomatic gesture. Philippine basketball has one of the most passionate fan bases in the world, and seeing its biggest talent wearing the jersey of one of the NBA's most global franchises would build a historic bridge. Social media would explode. Viewership across Asia would skyrocket. Warriors games would become national events in the Philippines. The team wouldn't just gain an athlete, it would gain a continent. Meanwhile, in Milwaukee, silence would echo like a farewell. Giannis's departure would close a golden chapter, and the locker room would feel the void, but rebirth would come quickly. Kuminga and Moody, now protagonists, would embody youth and renewal. Under the guidance of Green and Payton II, the team would rediscover purpose. The playing style would shift, less reliance on physical strength, more focus on speed, transition, and shooting. Milwaukee would become competitive again, in a different way. This trade would be a rare case where everyone wins something. The Warriors gain an immediate present, Milwaukee a solid future. The NBA, in turn, gains narrative, the fuel that keeps it alive. The league thrives on stories, and this would be one of the greatest, the Greek Freak joining the team that redefined modern basketball. The contrast between physical power and collective intelligence would be pure spectacle. Giannis in San Francisco wouldn't just be a new chapter, it would be the logical continuation of what he's always pursued. He's never been an ego-driven player. He has always valued teamwork, effort, and purpose. And in the Warriors, he would find exactly that, an ecosystem of cooperation and excellence. Jimmy Butler, meanwhile, would find in Golden State's disciplined and competitive environment the perfect stage for his mindset. A player who thrives under pressure, who demands intensity from everyone around him, and who, alongside Giannis, would form the league's most emotionally unyielding duo. They would bring a culture of accountability, perfectly aligned with the team's DNA. With the new roster, Steve Kerr would have an almost limitless range of lineups. He could go small with Butler as a power forward, or big with Giannis and Soto sharing the paint. The defense would alternate between man-to-man and hybrid zone. The offense would feature the widest spacing in the league. Basketball would once again become art, that rare combination of tactical precision and creative freedom only the Warriors can deliver. Behind the scenes, sponsors and investors would already be moving. The franchise's market value would soar instantly. New global partnerships, expanded TV contracts, and social media growth would make Golden State not just the most feared team, but also the most profitable. And that's the kind of detail NBA front offices never overlook. For Giannis, the move would mark a symbolic turning point. After years of carrying Milwaukee almost alone, he would finally play in an environment where responsibility is shared. It would be liberating. The constant pressure of being the only one would give way to the joy of being part of something greater. It's the kind of transformation that extends careers and reignites competitive fire. Soto, meanwhile, would face his own challenge, proving he belongs on that stage. Criticism would be inevitable. Many would question his adjustment to the NBA's pace, but he has something few possess: calm. His development has always been gradual, without forced leaps. That patience is what fuels steady growth. Within the Warriors' system, which values tactical understanding over impulsiveness, he would have room to flourish. Filipino fans would watch every minute, every rebound, every point, every smile. He would become more than a player, a symbol of cultural triumph. The Chase Center stands would be filled with Philippine flags, chants, and new energy. Basketball would become even more global, and the Warriors would be the epicenter of that connection. All of this, of course, depends on a decision, a signature, a trade, a single moment when two franchises decide to rewrite the future. And that moment may be closer than it seems. What is rumored today could be headlined tomorrow, and when it happens, the NBA will never be the same again. Curry, Butler, Giannis, Soto, 4 generations, 4 stories, one common purpose, to win and leave a legacy. The Warriors' flame never goes out. It only changes form. If you've made it this far, you already understand that the game goes far beyond the court. We are witnessing the beginning of something greater, perhaps the final great chapter of the Curry era, and the first of the one that will follow. The official announcement hasn't happened yet, but the movement behind the scenes is intense. Agents, executives, and marketing directors know that something monumental is about to unfold, and the entire league watches in silence, like those who can feel the air shift before a storm. The NBA is built on eras, and what is now taking shape marks the birth of a new one. The Golden State Warriors, who once revolutionized the game with three-point shooting and constant motion, now prepare for a new kind of revolution, one of coexistence between power and finesse, between instinct and method. The union of Giannis, Butler, Curry, and the young Soto represents a rare fusion of past, present, and future. While most franchises invest in slow rebuilds, the Warriors do the opposite. They build tomorrow while still winning today. This duality is the secret to their longevity. The team understands that success is not only about talent, but continuity, the ability to turn victories into legacy. Giannis, in turn, seems destined to wear gold and blue. Since the beginning of his NBA journey, he has always made it clear that what matters most to him isn't the spotlight, but purpose. He seeks environments where collective work prevails over ego, and if there's still a place where that ideal survives, it's in San Francisco. In training, the impact would be immediate. The intensity would rise to unprecedented levels. Butler and Giannis are players who don't tolerate slow rhythms. The standard of demand would increase for everyone, including the youngsters. It would create a new learning cycle, where Sotto, Moody, and the rookies would understand that being there isn't a privilege, but a responsibility. The Warriors' locker room has always been the heart of the team, a space where people don't just talk about tactics, but philosophy. Inside, every player learns that winning is a consequence, not a goal. The true focus is on mastering fundamentals, understanding the game as a living organism. Giannis fits perfectly into that creed. His mentality is about construction. His work ethic mirrors the one that took Curry to the top. And when it comes to technical fit, the possibilities are endless. Imagine Giannis receiving passes from Curry in transition, Butler slashing from the opposite side, and Soto positioned for the offensive rebound. The offensive system would gain multiple layers. No opponent could guard everything at once. Each action would open 3 others. The ball would move like a thinking organism, unpredictable and lethal. Defensively, the transformation would be even clearer. The Warriors would return to being a team that presses, anticipates, and feeds off opponents' mistakes. Giannis, with his reach, would be the guardian of rotations. Butler, the perimeter hunter. Peyton the 2, if he stays, the line disruptor. And Soto, gradually, the anchor of the paint. It would be a complete defensive ecosystem, capable of adapting to any opponent. The effects would transcend sport. The NBA has always sought narratives that go beyond the game. Human stories, cultural movements, symbols of representation. The arrival of Soto and the union of Giannis with Curry and Butler would form one of those rare moments when basketball becomes a universal language. For the Philippines, it would be a historic milestone. Never before had a player from the country joined a powerhouse of this magnitude. The impact would be comparable to what Yao Ming represented for China in the early 2000s. Schools, academies, and sports broadcasts would experience a renaissance. Filipino youth would begin to believe they can reach the top too. In the United States, the media would split opinions. Some analysts would say the Warriors are gambling too much, sacrificing the future for one last act of glory. Others would see the exact opposite, a smart rebuild where the present funds the future and the future learns from the present. Milwaukee, on the other hand, would accept its new role as a seed planter. Kuminga, Moody, and the draft picks would be the seeds of a new beginning. The fans, though hurt, would understand that cycles must end for others to begin. Giannis would leave not as a traitor, but as a hero who fulfilled his mission. As negotiations progress, Curry remains silent. He knows silence is more powerful than any statement. Inside, however, he must feel hope rekindling. The idea of fighting again for a title surrounded by complementary talents reignites the same fire that has driven him from the start. The training of the new roster would be a spectacle on its own. The practice court in San Francisco would witness a fusion of styles: Giannis's European coldness, Butler's American discipline, Curry's creative instinct, and Soto's Eastern serenity. Different cultures, one language, winning. The strategic impact of Giannis's arrival would also shift the balance of the Western Conference. Teams like the Nuggets, Mavericks, and Timberwolves would have to rethink their tactics. No traditional defensive plan would work against a team with such versatility. The Warriors would again become everyone's mirror and nightmare. Symbolically, this would mark the last great chapter of the Curry era, but also the first of the hybrid era, one where veterans and youth coexist, where genius meets renewal. That's the formula that sustains sports empires. Giannis, with his relentless style, would bring emotional fuel. Butler, the tone of urgency. Soto, the hope of continuity. And Curry, the wisdom of one who knows every legend must eventually share the throne. In the league offices, the commercial impact would be astronomical. Sponsors would battle for space around the new super team. Warriors games would break viewership records. Arenas would turn into temples of spectacle, and once again, basketball would mirror the world. Fast, connected, and global. What once seemed like just another trade rumor now takes the shape of inevitability. Conversations between Golden State and Milwaukee executives are reportedly advanced enough to define financial counterparts and announcement timelines. The plan would be to finalize everything before the start of the next season, so the team could begin training camp complete. Giannis silently watches. He has never been a man of words, only action, and perhaps he has already decided. Perhaps he already knows the next chapter of his story will be written by the Pacific, under California's golden glow. Curry waits, Butler trains, Sotto dreams, the city breathes anticipation, and basketball prepares to witness once more what seemed impossible, the rebirth of a dynasty. The Golden State Warriors are about to prove that time doesn't destroy empires, it merely transforms them. And when Giannis steps onto the court wearing blue and gold for the first time, the noise will be deafening, not just from the crowd's roar, but from the collective certainty that the game, once again, has changed forever. If you believe this is the beginning of a new basketball era, hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for updates. Because what's coming isn't just another season. It's the rebirth of a legend, and so the cycle completes itself. The possible arrival of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kai Soto in San Francisco wouldn't just be a trade. It would be the redefinition of an era, the rebirth of an empire that refuses to fall. The Golden State Warriors once again prove that basketball isn't just about shots and stats, but about vision, courage, and legacy. If all this comes true, we'll be witnessing one of the most emblematic formations in NBA history. A roster capable of uniting generations, breaking boundaries, and restoring the original meaning of greatness in sport. And that's exactly why you need to keep following every step of this story. Because what's about to happen could change everything. The league's balance, the players' destinies, and the very concept of team basketball itself. So if you believe this is the beginning of a new dynasty, hit the like button below. It helps keep the channel alive and brings you top-level content. Also, subscribe, because in the coming weeks we'll follow every detail of this potential revolution in world basketball. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates, because when this bombshell explodes, you'll want to be the first to know. Thanks for watching until the end. Stay tuned, because the next chapter of this story is only just beginning.